Marcus had never been to a planet quite like this one. The dusty horizon stretched endlessly, interrupted only by the towering ancient ruins that dotted the landscape. He wiped the sweat from his brow, his eyes squinting against the harsh sun as he looked around the barren desert. His ship, a small freighter, had crash-landed on this strange world after an unexpected technical malfunction. The damage wasn't severe enough to completely destroy the ship, but it had left him stranded on a planet he knew nothing about. The planet was remote, far from any known human colonies, and Marcus couldn't help but feel the isolation pressing in on him. He had no communication with Earth, no way to call for help, and nothing to do but try to fix his ship. He had been working tirelessly for the past few days, scavenging the ruins for parts and hoping to find something useful. But so far it had been one disappointment after another. His food and water were running low, and he was starting to feel the effects of the desert's harshness on his body. The heat was unbearable, and the sand clung to his skin, getting into every crevice. His clothes were starting to feel like they were suffocating him, and he longed for the cool, familiar comfort of the ship's interior. It was on the 4th day of searching that he encountered her. At first he thought he had imagined it. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw a figure standing among the ruins, a slender silhouette against the bright sky. He paused, wiping his brow, unsure if he was seeing things. The figure was unlike anything he had ever seen before. Tall and graceful, with shimmering skin that seemed to reflect the light in strange, iridescent patterns. Her presence was almost ethereal, like she wasn't entirely of this world. Before Marcus could take another step, the figure turned to face him. She was beautiful, but not in the way a human would describe beauty. She was different. Her features were alien, delicate, and otherworldly. Her eyes glowed softly, a deep shade of violet, and her hair seemed to flow like liquid silver, glinting in the sunlight. For a moment, Marcus froze. His heart raced as he tried to process what he was seeing. This was no human, no creature from Earth. It was something entirely alien. But despite the shock of encountering a life form from another world, there was something in her gaze that wasn't threatening. It was pleading. "Please," she spoke in a voice that was both soft and melodic, though slightly strained. "Wash me, human." The words took Marcus by surprise. Wash her? He didn't know what to make of it. He opened his mouth to speak, but found himself at a loss for words. The alien woman stood there, her gaze never leaving his, as if she was waiting for something from him, some sort of response. After a long pause, Marcus shook his head, his voice hoarse. What do you mean? Wash you? I don't understand." The alien's eyes softened, and she stepped closer. Her movements were fluid, graceful, like a dancer. "I need your help," she explained. "I am not like you. My people are sensitive to the elements of this world." I cannot clean myself. My skin, my body. It has been tarnished by the dust and the heat. I need you to wash me." Marcus still didn't fully understand what she meant, but there was something about her words that struck him. He had seen the way her skin shimmered, and he could tell that she wasn't like any human he had ever encountered. There was a purity about her, an innocence that made him feel protective, even though he didn't know her at all. "I don't know how I can help," he said, his voice uncertain.
"I'm not even sure how to," she cut him off. "You have the tools."
"I can guide you." It was then that Marcus noticed a strange object hanging from her side. It was a small metallic device, sleek and smooth, unlike anything he had seen before. She held it out to him, and he instinctively took it. Though he had no idea what it was or how it worked, she smiled softly, a look of gratitude in her eyes. "I will show you what to do," she said. "But first you must come with me. There is a place, a hidden oasis, where I can be cleansed. The journey will not be easy, but you must trust me. I will repay you." Marcus hesitated. He didn't know whether he should trust her. Everything about this situation was strange. this alien woman, her request, and the bizarre world they were on. But there was something compelling about her, something he couldn't ignore, and, truth be told, he felt a sense of responsibility for her. After all, she was asking for help. What kind of person would he be if he refused? With a deep breath, Marcus nodded. "All right, I'll help you." The alien woman's face lit up with relief. "Thank you," she whispered. They began their journey immediately, walking through the ruins and into the vast desert beyond. The temperature was scorching and the wind whipped the sand into their faces, making it difficult to see. Marcus could feel the heat draining his strength, but he pressed on, determined to help this alien woman who had somehow captured his attention and his sympathy. As they walked, the alien, whose name, she told him, was Yara, explained more about her people. She told him that her species had evolved to survive on harsh planets like this one, with their bodies naturally adapted to withstand extreme conditions. However, they were not invincible. The dust, the heat, and the toxic atmosphere of the planet could damage their skin and disrupt their delicate energy balance. Without proper cleansing, they could deteriorate, becoming weak and eventually dying. Yara explained that the process of cleaning herself was not just a physical need, but a spiritual one. Her people believed that purification was a deeply intimate act, a ritual that required both physical and emotional trust. She spoke of her people's long history, their connection to the land, and the sacredness of the cleansing process. It was a rite of passage for the young, and a necessity for the elderly and the sick. As they walked, Yara's story began to paint a picture of a culture that was ancient and wise, yet fragile. The more Marcus heard, the more he understood how important this task was for her. Not just for her survival, but for her sense of identity. And it was then that he realized just how deep this request went. Not just to wash her body, but to offer his trust and care for her, a stranger from another world. Finally, after hours of walking, they reached the hidden oasis Yara had mentioned. It was a small, secluded patch of land, surrounded by lush vegetation and sparkling water. The air was cool and the sun was lower in the sky, casting a soft golden glow over the landscape. The oasis felt like a sanctuary in the midst of the barren desert, a place of life and renewal. Yara stepped forward, her eyes shining with gratitude. "We are here," she said. "This is where I can be cleansed." Marcus followed her, unsure of what to expect next. Yara led him to a small pool of clear water, and she gestured for him to set down the strange device she had given him. "You must help me now," she said softly. Marcus nodded, his heart racing. He had no idea how to proceed, but Yara's calm demeanor reassured him. He stepped closer to her, his hands trembling slightly as he prepared to help her in whatever way he could. Yara closed her eyes, her silver hair flowing around her like a halo. "The cleansing begins with trust," she whispered. "Trust me, human, and help me." Marcus took a deep breath. He could feel the weight of the moment settling around him. This was a strange, unfamiliar ritual. But it was a ritual that was important to her, and somehow he knew that by helping her, he was not only helping an alien, but also connecting with something greater than himself. With that thought in mind, Marcus began the process, doing his best to follow her instructions, his mind focused on the task at hand. It was the beginning of a new chapter for both of them, a journey neither of them could have predicted, but one that would change them forever. The oasis was even more breathtaking than Marcus had imagined. It was as if the harsh desert had given way to a secret world, a hidden paradise that was untouched by the sandstorms and scorching heat that had plagued the rest of the planet. The air was cool, and the soft hum of the water as it trickled from a natural spring created a sense of peace that Marcus hadn't felt since he'd crash-landed on this alien world. Yara had led him to the water's edge, her face glowing with relief and gratitude. She had stepped into the cool water, her feet sinking slightly into the soft sand beneath, and turned to face him. Her metallic skin shimmered in the fading light of the sun, reflecting hues of violet and silver. There was something almost ethereal about her, like she wasn't entirely part of this world, but instead a being from another realm. Marcus felt a pang of sympathy. She had come from a race that had evolved to live on this harsh, barren planet. Yet here she was, asking for something as simple as a cleansing, a task he had never thought twice about as a human. He felt a deep sense of responsibility for her, even though they had only just met. She had trusted him, and now he had to honor that trust. Yara stood in the water, her eyes closed, and Marcus could tell that she was preparing herself for the cleansing. He didn't know what to expect next, but he could see the weight of the moment in her posture, the way she held herself, as if this was more than just a physical necessity. This was a ritual for her, something deeply personal and intimate. And in some strange way, Marcus felt like he was part of something far bigger than himself. She turned back to him, her voice soft but steady. "The cleansing begins now," she said, her violet eyes locking with his. "You must be gentle, human. It is not just my body that needs washing. It is my spirit, my soul. My people believe that purification is not only physical but spiritual. I need your help, not just to cleanse me, but to help me reconnect with the essence of my being." Marcus nodded, trying to understand. "I'll do my best," he said, his voice filled with determination. He wasn't sure what she meant by reconnecting with the essence of her being, but if she believed it was important, then he would try. Yara extended her hand, and Marcus took it, his fingers brushing against her cool, smooth skin. He noticed that her skin wasn't just metallic, it had an almost liquid quality to it, like it was constantly shifting and changing, as though it were part of the very atmosphere around them. She was unlike anything he had ever seen, and yet, in that moment, she felt real, tangible, and in need of his help. She guided him to a small basin that was filled with water from the spring. There was a soft, luminescent glow coming from the water, and Marcus could feel its coolness even before his hands touched it. He looked up at Yara, who smiled softly at him. "You must use this," she said, gesturing to the water. "It is not just water. It is a sacred element to my people, and it will help cleanse me." Marcus wasn't sure how the water could be more than just water, but he trusted her. He dipped his hands into the basin, feeling the coolness seep into his skin. The water was smooth, almost like silk, and he could feel a subtle energy in it, a hum that seemed to resonate with his own body. Yara stepped closer, her eyes closed as she lowered her head. "Now," she whispered, "you must begin." With her guidance, Marcus gently began to pour the water over her skin, moving with careful, deliberate motions. As he did, Yara let out a soft sigh, her body relaxing as the water washed over her. He could feel the tension in her muscles release, as though the very act of being cleaned was allowing her to shed the weight of the world. As Marcus continued, he felt a sense of connection to her, something beyond just helping an alien being. It was as if he was sharing in a moment of trust and vulnerability, something sacred that transcended their differences. He didn't know why, but he felt honored to be a part of this process, to help Yara reconnect with herself. The water glistened as it ran down her body, and Marcus noticed how the metallic sheen of her skin seemed to come alive with every touch. It was as if the water was not just cleaning her physical form, but also restoring something deeper within her, something he couldn't quite understand. Yara stood still, her eyes still closed, and Marcus couldn't help but notice the peace that seemed to wash over her with every passing moment. There was something calming about the way she held herself, a quiet dignity that he found fascinating. Despite the harsh environment of the planet, despite everything she had been through, she carried herself with a grace and composure that was unlike anything he had ever seen. The more Marcus cleaned her, the more he realized that this wasn't just about physical purification. It was about something much deeper. Yara had shared with him that her people believed in the balance between body and spirit, that the act of cleaning was an act of renewal, a way to regain their strength and clarity. For them, it wasn't just a ritual, it was a way of life, something that connected them to the world around them, to the very essence of existence. As Marcus continued to pour the water over her, he began to feel that connection too, though he didn't fully understand it. It was as if he was being drawn into something larger, something beyond the surface. He could feel the weight of the moment, the significance of what he was doing. He wasn't just helping Yara, he was becoming part of something ancient, something far older than humanity itself. Time seemed to slow down as he worked, each motion feeling more deliberate than the last. He could see the change in her as the water washed over her skin. The weariness in her expression began to fade, replaced by a softness and peace that hadn't been there before. She was becoming whole again, and he was the one helping her. When the ritual was finally complete, Yara opened her eyes, and Marcus could see the difference in her. She looked rejuvenated, not just in body, but in spirit. Her eyes glowed brighter, and the shimmering sheen of her skin seemed to pulse with energy. She was no longer the weary, distressed alien he had first met. Now she was something more, someone who had been cleansed, renewed, and ready to face the world again. Yara stepped back, her expression one of profound gratitude. "Thank you, human," she said softly. "You have done more for me than you know. You have helped me regain what was lost." Marcus smiled, feeling a warmth in his chest. "I'm just glad I could help," he replied. "I didn't understand at first, but now I think I do." Yara nodded, her gaze softening. "You have done more than just help. You have shown me trust, and in doing so, you have shown me respect. I will not forget this, human." There was a quiet moment between them, a shared understanding that neither of them had words for. They stood there, in the cool oasis, the fading light of the sun casting long shadows across the water. The air felt different now, charged with a sense of calm and possibility. It was as if everything that had come before, the harsh desert, the journey, the struggle, had led to this moment, this connection between them. After a few moments, Yara spoke again. "There is much more I must tell you," she said. "But for now, you must rest. Tomorrow, we will begin the next part of our journey." Marcus nodded, though he didn't fully understand what Yara meant, but he knew one thing for sure. He was no longer just a stranded human on an alien planet. He was part of something bigger now, something that had the potential to change both of their lives forever. And with that thought in mind, he followed Yara to a small shelter near the oasis, where they would spend the night, their bond growing stronger with each passing moment. The night passed slowly but peacefully. Marcus lay on a simple mat near the edge of the oasis, the gentle sounds of water lapping at the shore and the distant rustling of leaves in the cool night breeze lulling him to sleep. The air was fresh and cool, a welcome relief after the heat of the desert. As the stars twinkled brightly above, Marcus couldn't help but feel a deep sense of calm wash over him. It was strange. Just yesterday, he had been on a barren planet with no way of getting off, struggling with the harsh conditions and uncertain of what tomorrow would bring. Now he was here, in a secluded oasis, with an alien being who had changed everything. Yara had been quiet the entire night. She had settled beside him, her silver hair shimmering even in the dim light, her eyes reflecting the beauty of the night sky. She had not spoken much, but there was a calmness in the way she sat, a quiet contemplation that told Marcus she was processing everything that had happened. Her people had trusted him, and now he had become a part of their story, in a way that neither of them could have predicted. The next morning, Yara was already awake when Marcus opened his eyes. She was standing by the water, her back to him, gazing at the horizon. The early morning light illuminated her figure, casting a soft glow around her. For a moment, Marcus just watched her, unsure of what to say or how to act. They had shared an intimate moment, and the connection between them felt stronger than ever. But he still didn't fully understand everything she had told him, or the significance of what had happened between them. After a few moments, Yara turned to face him, her eyes meeting his with a gentle expression. "The cleansing is complete," she said softly. "But our journey is far from over." Marcus sat up, rubbing his eyes. "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice still thick with sleep. I thought that was it. I thought we were done. Yara smiled, a faint twinkle in her eyes. That was only the beginning. The cleansing restores my body, but there is still much to be done. There are things you must understand if you are to truly help me. Marcus listened intently, his curiosity piqued. What kind of things? Yara walked over to him and sat down, crossing her legs. My people are not just a race of individuals. We are connected to the land, to the very essence of this planet. We are bound by a shared history, a history that has been passed down through generations. Our survival depends on the balance between us and the world around us, but that balance is fragile. Marcus nodded slowly, trying to follow her. So, what does that have to do with me? Yara looked at him with a deep seriousness. You are not just a traveler passing through. You are part of the solution. The cleansing you performed was not just for me. It was for both of us. My people are in danger, and I cannot do this alone. I need you to help me restore the balance before it is too late. The weight of her words hung in the air, and Marcus felt the gravity of the situation pressing down on him. But why me? He asked, his voice tinged with confusion. I'm just a human. I don't know anything about your people, your history, or this planet. Yara's gaze softened. That's exactly why. You are an outsider, untouched by the struggles and conflicts of my world. You bring a fresh perspective, free from the biases and limitations that have clouded the judgment of my people for centuries. You can see things clearly without being bound by tradition or history. That is why you are needed. Marcus was silent for a long time, contemplating her words. He didn't fully understand what she was asking of him, but he could sense the urgency in her voice, the deep worry in her eyes. He had come to this planet by accident, and now he was being asked to help save it. It was an overwhelming thought, and yet he couldn't shake the feeling that this was exactly where he was meant to be. What do I need to do? He asked, his voice steady now. Yara stood up, her movements fluid and graceful. Come with me, she said. There is a place where the balance is failing. If we don't act soon, it may be too late. Marcus followed her, his heart beating faster with each step. He didn't know what to expect, but he knew one thing for sure. Yara wasn't asking for help out of convenience. This was something vital, something that would determine the future of her people and the planet itself. They traveled for hours, walking through the desert once again. The air was heavy with heat, and Marcus could feel the sweat trickling down his back. But there was a sense of determination in Yara's movements, a quiet confidence that kept him going. She seemed at home in the desert, as if the harsh conditions were no match for her. And yet, there was a hint of concern in her eyes, a trace of worry that Marcus couldn't ignore. After a while, they arrived at a rocky outcrop overlooking a vast canyon. The view was breathtaking, with the sun casting long shadows over the jagged cliffs below. Yara stood at the edge, gazing out over the landscape. This is where it began, she said softly. Marcus joined her, looking out over the canyon. What do you mean? He asked. Yara pointed to a distant structure, half hidden in the shadows. There is a city, buried beneath the sand. It was once the heart of my people's civilization, a place where we thrived, but now it lies in ruin. The balance between us and the land was broken here, and the consequences have been far-reaching. Marcus squinted, trying to make out the details of the city in the distance. What happened? Yara's expression grew darker. We lost sight of our connection to the planet. We became too focused on our technology, our advancements. We forgot that the land is alive, that it must be cared for, respected. And now, the land is fighting back. The city is just the beginning. If we don't restore the balance soon, this entire planet will fall into ruin. Marcus took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her words. The task ahead of him seemed insurmountable, But he couldn't ignore the feeling that this was more than just a mission. It was a calling. He didn't know how he could help, but he knew that he had to try. Yara turned to him, her eyes filled with resolve. "We must go to the city. There is something there that can help us restore the balance. But we must act quickly." Without another word, they set off towards the city, their footsteps echoing in the silence of the desert. As they walked, Marcus couldn't help but feel a growing sense of urgency. The fate of an entire civilization rested on their shoulders. He didn't know if he was ready for this, but he also knew that he couldn't back down. Hours passed, and the sun began to set, casting a warm golden glow over the desert. The shadows grew longer, and the air became cooler, but the tension in Marcus's chest only increased. He had come to this planet as a stranger, but now he was part of something much bigger than himself. He was part of a mission to save an alien civilization, a mission that would take everything he had. When they finally reached the city, Marcus was struck by the silence. It was as if the place had been abandoned for centuries, untouched by time. The buildings were partially buried in sand, their once proud structures now reduced to ruins. The air was thick with dust, and there was a sense of desolation that hung over everything. Yara led him through the narrow streets, her steps sure and steady. "This is where it all began," she said quietly. "The heart of our civilization. But now, it is nothing more than a graveyard." They arrived at a large, crumbling structure in the center of the city. It was surrounded by strange symbols and markings, etched into the stone walls. Yara paused in front of it, her gaze fixed on the entrance. "This is where we must begin," she said. "Inside, you will find the answer. But be warned, what we are about to do will change everything." Marcus looked at her, uncertainty in his eyes. "What do you mean?" Yara didn't answer right away. She simply turned and walked inside the building, leaving Marcus no choice but to follow. The inside of the ancient building was dark, the walls covered in dust and old markings that Marcus couldn't quite decipher. As Yara stepped inside, her body seemed to glow in the dim light, casting an ethereal glow that illuminated the room around them. The air was thick with the scent of aged stone and ancient dust. It felt like stepping into a forgotten world, a place where time had stood still for centuries. Marcus followed closely behind Yara, his footsteps echoing in the silence. He couldn't help but feel a strange sense of awe as he looked around. The walls were lined with strange carvings, symbols he had never seen before. They seemed to tell a story, but the language was foreign to him. Yara moved with purpose, as though she knew exactly where she was going. She didn't speak, but her presence was enough to guide him. She led him deeper into the building, past long-forgotten chambers and hallways. Finally, they arrived at a large circular room in the heart of the structure. In the center of the room stood a pedestal, old and worn with age. On top of it lay a small, intricately carved stone. It was glowing faintly, as if it had its own source of light, casting soft shadows on the walls. Yara approached the pedestal, her eyes fixed on the stone. She stopped just short of touching it, her hand hovering above it, as though she were waiting for something. "This is the source," Yara said, her voice quiet but filled with reverence. "This stone holds the key to restoring the balance. It is ancient, older than anything I can comprehend. My people used it to connect with the land, to communicate with the very essence of the planet. But over time, we forgot its power, and we stopped using it." Marcus stepped forward, his eyes locked on the glowing stone. He could feel the energy emanating from it, a strange, almost magnetic pull that drew him in. He reached out, his fingers brushing against the cool surface of the stone. The moment he touched it, a surge of energy shot through his body, making his heart race. The room seemed to spin around him, the air thick with a strange power. Yara's voice broke through the chaos. "You must not be afraid. This is the first step in restoring the balance. You must accept the power of the stone, just as I did." Marcus's mind was racing, unsure of what was happening. The energy coursing through him was unlike anything he had ever felt before. It was as if the very planet itself was alive, and it was reaching out to him, pulling him into its embrace. He closed his eyes, trying to steady himself, but the sensation was overwhelming. "Trust the process," Yara said, her voice calm and steady. "The stone is not just a tool. It is a part of the planet. It is a part of me. And now, it is a part of you." Marcus took a deep breath, trying to calm his racing thoughts. He had no idea what was happening, but Yara had trusted him, and he had to trust her in return. Slowly, he let go of his fear and allowed the energy to flow through him. The surge of power became more intense, but now, instead of feeling overwhelmed, he felt connected. It was as if the planet itself was speaking to him, sharing its ancient wisdom. He could feel its history, the rise and fall of civilizations, the balance that had been lost and now needed to be restored. The connection was overwhelming, but at the same time, it was beautiful. He understood, for the first time, the deep bond that Yara's people shared with the land. He understood the weight of their responsibility and the cost of losing that connection. The energy continued to flow through him, and he realized that he wasn't just helping Yara anymore. He was helping the entire planet. The stone, the ancient power, had chosen him for a reason. He had been brought here not by accident, but because he was the key to restoring the balance. As the energy began to subside, Marcus opened his eyes. The room had changed. The walls, once covered in dust and grime, now shimmered with light, the ancient symbols glowing brightly. The air felt lighter, the oppressive weight of the desert outside replaced with a sense of peace. Yara stood beside him, her face serene, her eyes filled with gratitude. "You have done it," she said softly. "You have restored the connection? The balance has been returned?" Marcus looked around, still processing everything that had just happened. The stone was no longer glowing, but he could still feel its presence, its energy, humming in the air. The room was no longer just a relic of the past. It was alive with the power of the planet. "Is it over?" he asked, his voice uncertain. Yara smiled, a sense of relief in her eyes. "The balance has been restored, but our work is not finished. The planet will heal now, but it will take time. Just as my people will need time to rebuild, so will the land. But you have done your part."
"You have helped us find our way back." Marcus nodded, though a part of him still felt uncertain.
He had come here as a stranger, unsure of what he was getting into. And now, he was a part of something far greater than he had ever imagined. He had helped save an entire world. It was humbling, but also overwhelming. Yara placed a hand on his shoulder, her touch warm and reassuring. "You have shown us the power of trust, of connection. You are not just a traveler from another world. You are a part of ours now. We will never forget what you've done for us." Marcus looked at her, a mix of emotions flooding through him. "I didn't do it for you," he said quietly. "I did it because I felt like it was the right thing to do." Yara's smile widened, and she nodded. "That is what makes you different. You didn't come here to fix a problem or to seek glory. You came because you understood the importance of balance. And that is why you were the one chosen." Marcus was silent for a moment, trying to process everything she had said. He had always thought of himself as just a traveler, someone who had been lost and stranded. But now, he understood that he had a purpose here. He had been brought to this planet for a reason, and that reason was bigger than anything he could have imagined. "We will rebuild," Yara continued. "And we will remember you, always. You will have a place among us, should you choose to stay. But for now, you must return to your ship. The path you walked with us was never meant to be forever. Your journey is just beginning." Marcus nodded slowly, feeling a deep sense of peace settle over him. He had come here to fix a ship, to escape his loneliness, but he had found something much greater. He had found a purpose, a connection to a world, and a people that had changed him forever. "I won't forget this," he said, his voice filled with sincerity. Yara's eyes sparkled with warmth. "Nor will we forget you." With that, Marcus turned and walked toward the exit of the building, the weight of the planet's history still on his shoulders, but also a sense of fulfillment in his heart. The journey had been difficult, and the task ahead of him was still unclear, but he knew one thing for certain. He had made a difference. And that was enough. As he stepped back into the bright sunlight of the desert, he looked up at the sky, the endless horizon stretching before him. The planet was healing, and so was he. And, whatever came next, he was ready.